treated me kind, sweet destiny. Quite risk my.
There was a moment when I was able to say, if I do this, I don't want to be forced to do other people's material. Please incorporate that into your fabulous contract, and then, you know, we'll take it from there.
I need a lover to give me the kind of love that'll last always. Heartbreak, you got the best of me, but I just keep on coming back incessantly.
I'm gonna need you to make some noise for the one, the only iconic Mariah Carey. What's up?
Thank you.
You've accomplished so much in your career. I mean, when we're talking about over 200 million records sold, the Grammy Awards, 5 Grammys, 18 #1 singles, all of the accolades is amazing, and we celebrate you for that.
Thank you.
But at the core of that, you know, everything starts with a song, with a lyric, with the songwriting process. And we want to celebrate Mariah Carey, the songwriter.
Thank you
tonight.
so much. It's so great to hear to feel the acknowledgement of the songwriting, because oftentimes people put that as a secondary thing. And for me, it's always been like the top of the gifts that I could ever be. So thankful, and you know, to
That's
have.
amazing. And congratulations on your nomination to the Songwriter Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much.
It's just amazing. So it feels like the universe, feels like the stars are really aligning for this conversation. I want to go back to the beginning with you, because you were around music. It's been well documented your whole life. Your mom is a singer and was a vocal coach, so music was always a thing that was in your life. But I was wondering, when was the first time that you stopped and noticed great songwriting?
You know what's so interesting? That no one has ever asked me that question before, so that's kind of big, because I've been asked a lot of questions. I used to think that when you heard the person on the radio, that they wrote the song, that it was always their song. So I didn't understand it. It took a while for me to understand, like, no, not everybody writes their own songs. I didn't get it. And then, like, I guess later on, when I was like 12 or 13, I started doing demos for people as like a, you know, just a demo, not just a demo singer. Demo singing is an art.
Right.
We love that. But I started doing that, and then I realized that I didn't really like some of those songs that I was singing, but it didn't matter, because they were paying me to be there. So I was like, hey, I'll just sing the nice song, whatever. And
At 12 years old, you
that was my first. Like, I did background vocals for my mom's friend's son, who's now passed away. But I did. That was like my first paying background.
And you were getting
vocal
paid
job.
at 12 years old?
Yeah, I walked to the session, but yeah, I did.
You ain't walking the sessions no more, that's for sure.
Yeah, not really, but you know, I would.
So at 12 years old, you first really started to kind of notice.
Well, I would notice the material and be
Right.
like, okay, I feel like this could be better, but I didn't understand, like, oh, okay, like I had always been writing, like I wrote poetry when I was little. I would write poetry and little things and make up melodies, and I didn't realize, like, oh, put that together and I'm gonna be writing songs. And so I guess what happened was, as I grew up, I started writing. I'm really terrible on piano, like I'm the worst. But I've written some of my biggest songs on the piano by, playing. So it's kind of like, I don't do it in front of people that can actually play.
Right. Do you remember the first song you wrote?
Funny you should ask me that. I remember the first poem that, well, I don't know if it was the first one, but it was more of a poem than a song. It was called A Dream. Yeah. Shockingly.
Do you remember?
But I remember it, and I actually still have it on the wall. It's framed. It was in Rock and Roll's room with a little rainbow on there. I didn't really go too far beyond that. No, there was no. I never wrote a melody to it. It was just lyrics.
So also,
Yeah.
so dreams and rainbows was also your thing
Always
for a long
a
time.
theme from a long time. I was always looking for the positivity in things.
We're going to
you
find
know?
all the positivity tonight.
But yeah, actually, one of the songs, and thank you, it wasn't the first song I ever wrote, because there were some other songs that I wrote, but before I could collaborate with people, I had to do the music and record music and stuff too, so I work with some different people with that. But one of the songs from my first album, called Alone in Love, I had started I had started working on that like years before, and then it evolved.
It's amazing the journey of a song before we actually even get to hear it
Yeah.
on the radio. And hopefully we get a lot of stories like that tonight, because that's really what we want to get into. In 2015, though, Mariah, you teased us.
With what?
You sent the tweet in 2015 about listening to your demo. Now playing Hypnotized, my teenage demo version.
And now I don't know where it is. I gotta find it again. But that song was the best song on that demo. That and Vision of Love were my favorite songs on that demo. And I don't know where it is now. And they were like, the label was like, it's too R&B. And now I realize why, because it was kind of like a sparse record with just chords and like I like the beat.
Right.
And it was a pretty melody, kind of like a minor, like haunting kind of a sound. And I would have loved it on the first album, but they didn't want to do it.
But so you don't know where it is now, because you had it in 2015. What I'm getting at is you
Yes.
tweet things like that now playing,
Yeah.
and then we get jealous. Like, why can't we play it too?
It's been a rocky road for those 3 years, so I'm pretty sure someone swiped that demo, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll find it again. We'll find it. Actually, that would have been a great idea to redo that song, or just put the demo out for this album. But
Who knows? Well,
we'll find it.
I wanted to ask you one thing, because the Lambs also are part-time detectives. Y'all be on it. Online a few years ago, there was this Mariah demo that leaked, and nobody knew if it was real, and it was like a hand pressing play, and it was like, that's Mariah's hand. No, it's not. And people have been.
I don't think it was me.
Do you know what we're talking about?
No, I just don't think I did anything like. I don't think that was.
You will remember.
Well, we didn't exactly have time to sit there and do that. I was, when I was making my demos, it was like, kind of like we had to do things in the moment. Like, I didn't have the money or the time to be messing around making videos and pressing play and like meandering about. I didn't.
We found a little piece on the internet. If I could play you this, can you say?
I knew we were going to get into this type of a moment. I knew it. I actually thought this upstairs. I was like, they're going to hit me with a secret video, and I'm going to have to look at it.
Just confirm, deny.
If you must. If this is the most important thing we could talk about.
Oh, no. Oh.
Nah, I'm
This is just the beginning.
Is this the beginning? Oh,
let's roll the tape. Let's see. This is Vanishing, I believe.
Okay. Cut.
All right, let's cut.
Yes, that's the demo of
Okay.
Vanishing. It sounds like the demo.
Yeah.
I haven't heard the demo in forever.
Right.
But I liked the demo.
We like the demo.
I don't know if I still like it. I don't know what I like.
All right. Listen, Lamb, see, I told you I got y'all tonight, right? So we got the confirmation that we needed. Case closed. Next. Mariah, I read, we did a lot of research for this interview, and in one of your early interviews at the start of your career, you had talked about this process that you had of keeping a tape recorder by your bedside where you would record melodies.
Right.
And, you would get ideas and you would just put it down on the tape recorder. And I wonder, has your process changed much from that? Like, now we got
Voice notes.
smartphones and voice notes and stuff. Like, what's your process like for songwriting? Like, you're just like chilling in the kitchen and you get an idea or something. What's the process for you?
I mean, it's sort of like I'll have to stop everything I'm doing and go and record the melody And yeah, it used to be a little tape recorder by the bed, and then I would call myself on the phone and just record it. And now it's voice notes. But I mean, sometimes I'll just stop myself from getting too much of an idea. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I gotta wait and let me just record this part and then just stop, because I'm afraid it's too much of a thing to get into if I'm not going to finish the whole thing. Sometimes I'd rather work with, like, I like working with people that I feel are just great musicians, like great piano players, so I can articulate something to them and they can kind of like be a vessel that I can work through. Like on this album, I work with Daniel Moore. I know we're going to get there, but Daniel Moore is my musical director, and he and I wrote a song called Portrait for this album. And yeah, I'm looking forward to being able for you guys to hear it, because it's a very personal song. And we got together, we had never written before, and we got in the studio, and we just sat at the piano, because he's so good that I was just pushing, like, in terms of the chords and where we were going melodically, and just in terms of song structure, just to make it different than things I had done before, but to keep it in the vein that what I was hearing. So it's like, having that is such a luxury to me, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the stuff when I first started writing was with maybe not someone that wasn't necessarily a piano player. They might have been a drummer, and they played keys as a second thing. And then I would kind of like, it would take a long time for me to articulate what I was hearing. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
No,
I don't know if I just went on an unnecessary tangent.
No,
but
listen, we're here. First of all, the tangents are necessary. We're here for all of that. Because you really segued into my next question, because songwriting is a very personal thing, and a very sacred thing, I would imagine. So at what point was the next question, do you decide in the process to invite others and to, you worked with some also legendary artists with your songwriting as well and collaborated. So at what point do those collaborations start to happen?
It really depends on the moment, on the song. Sometimes people will say, let's write together. And you just kind of made a moment pop into my mind when I was working on the album Rainbow. Thank you.
It's a great album.
Thank you. Diane Warren said to me, because she's her own, like, we love Diane, but no, we do. But she will make sure like, look, my song's a freaking great song. Like, you gotta, and I love her. I really do. She's one in a million. And she was like, let's get together and let's work. So I had written the song called Can't Take That Away, Mariah's theme. Yeah. Yes, he's got the Rainbow tour book right there. And I went to her place in Malibu and sang her basically most of what I was hearing, and then we kind of we finished writing it together. So sometimes I'll bring an idea to somebody that I know is gonna have some input and some, bring something else to the table. But that was very much my experience that I was going through at the time, that song. It was like they can say anything they want to say. I was going through like trying to get, I'll let the Lamely finish that for me. I was leaving, we're back at Sony. We love Sony. Sony is great. Yes, but at that time, I had to break free from that. And so it was kind of like an anthem for that. And then they were like, they didn't really support that one, but, we still like it.
Listen, man, you gotta love it. We love it. They gotta love it. It's great. First of all, it's really a dream to be here, because I think so often we talk about your voice, your iconic style, your influence, and very rarely do we talk about songwriting. And I know the nomination for the Songwriters Hall of Fame just happened, but we were kind of formulating this even before we knew that was coming down. So again, like, the stars are aligning. But my question is, do you feel like you get enough credit as a songwriter? And if not, why not? Because I want to get to the stigma of what it is.
Okay. Wait, get to the stigma.
Do you feel you get? We're gonna get to that. We got a whole
section, a biracial section. We actually have one. We actually have one.
We're gonna get to outside. We're gonna get to looking in. I promise you. But do you feel like you get the credit that you deserve as a songwriter?
Well, I mean, look, I don't think a lot of, first of all, the average person who's not a fan or doesn't follow what I do or whatever, they'll be like, oh, you write songs? You know, they just don't know because it's not something that, I'm not seen sitting behind a piano or strumming a guitar for the most part. So they're like, you know, I mean, I've had those moments, but that's not really what people associate me with. So I feel like I can't expect people to know. It would make me happy. It makes me extremely happy when people say, you know, a song has affected their lives, something that I've written that's come from a very personal place has affected or impacted upon somebody else in an important way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Everybody has their favorite. And you had, it's amazing because you have such a clear vision for yourself, man. And as I'm sitting here just talking to you in these few moments, it seems that you've always had a clear vision for yourself since a teenager. Was it hard, like, first getting signed? Like, was there moments when maybe the label tried to have songs delivered to you and you had to, you know, give them a no-no? You know?
Honestly, okay, so when I got signed, we know I was very young, and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know anything about the music business at all, except that I wanted to be a part of it. But there was a moment when I was able to say, if I do this, I don't want to be forced to do other people's material. So you know, please incorporate that into your fabulous contract, and then, you know, we'll take it from there.
Savvy.
But that was the one thing that I should have said so many other things, but I didn't. That was the one thing. But at least I still own my catalog, and you know what I mean?
You know, there's one song, and forgive me because I know you're talking about this song for years and years and years, but it's such an iconic song. One of your many number ones, Hero. I just want to hear just a taste. Can we hear just a taste of Hero?
And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive.
It's a little emotional. Because for so long I was like, okay, it didn't take me a long time to write this song. It wasn't like a whole thing.
How long?
Not long.
Because
It was honestly, the first part of it was a gift. We were talking about this movie starring Dustin Hoffman called Hero.
which was called Hero.
Yeah, and then I'm not going to get into a long drawn out thing about anybody or anything, but Tommy Mottola was there, and and to his credit, he was like, yeah, they want Gloria to do this song, and Luther's doing a song. There were a few people that were doing
Gloria Estefan.
Yes, and then they explained what the movie was about. I walked out of the room, went to another room, not going to go into every detail, but I started having the da-da-da-da-da-da-da with the words to Hero. And it just right from that moment, I went back in the room and I was like, okay, here's what I'm hearing. And I sang it to Walter, and I was like, this is how it goes. And then Tommy was like, I think you need to keep that one for yourself. Don't give that away. So thank God I did.
Right.
But I also, because he didn't say that until maybe like a little bit after we developed the song a little bit more. And I'm always thinking, like, because I was thinking of somebody else, I wasn't like trying to write it in all kinds of like too high of a key or make it too intricate. And then it just became, the simplicity of it was part of the appeal, I think.
It's amazing. And a song, you said it came together very quickly, and here we are, really 25 years later.
We don't know numbers. We don't.
But what I'm getting at, we don't. And my math is horrible. But the song is timeless.
I don't quite recall exactly when it was.
But we're really talking about a timeless
yes,
song.
Yes, no. I appreciate that.
It's amazing. I want to get into another section of the interview, and again, we're giving you all your flowers tonight. I saw you looked over there. I meant figuratively.
Peonies.
You like those? Are those good?
I love those.
Okay.
Peonies.
I picked them out.
You did? They're beautiful.
I'm the worst at picking out flowers.
I'm just happy there's some flowers here, okay?
Hip hop. Look, I'm a hip hop baby. We're the hip hop generation, and I think we really take for granted now, especially with streaming. There was a time when rock was rock and roll, pop music was pop music, R&B was R&B, hip hop was hip hop, and you didn't blur those lines, and you couldn't blur those lines. I remember certain radio stations wouldn't play hip hop. You know, we always got to credit people like DJ, Ron G, Diddy, Trackmasters, Mary J. Blige, Mariah Carey. You made it cool for rappers to jump on R&B tracks, on pop tracks. You were one of the pioneers of this, and allowing them to be themselves. Like, music was trying to figure out how to blend hip hop with pop and R&B and couldn't do it. And I feel like those Mariah Carey tracks are really important for just the evolution of hip hop. I feel like you had a vision. Where did that come from? Because it wasn't normal. It wasn't the thing to do at the time.
Well, first of all, thank you. That's very flattering. I was just trying to express myself. I grew up in New York, here in New York. And remember just, listening to the same records everybody grew up listening to that couldn't help. If you listen to the radio, you heard all these incredible hip hop records. And I wanted to incorporate those beats into records that I was making because that's what I liked. It was my personal taste. It wasn't like, I'm gonna try to be cool. And it wasn't like that at all. I mean, when we used the Genius of Love sample for Fantasy, I was at Rye Playland and I was listening to the radio and they had Upstate New York and they had Genius of Love was on the radio and I was looking out and I was like, you know what? I should use this and resample this. So we did that, and then eventually did the Bad Boy remix, and that's still one of my favorites. But it was a struggle to be able to be allowed to do that. Like, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is such a great idea. Thanks, we're gonna sell lots of records because of this. They were like, what is she doing? They really didn't understand, and it just became a thing. And then even when, I was fortunate enough to have Old Dirty Bastard on the record because I was a huge fan. May he rest in peace. I was a huge fan of 36 Chambers, and I was like, come on. And so I was like so excited, just literally like a fan, like, I can't believe this is happening. But certain people were like, I could do that. What is that? What is he doing? And I'm like, no. Just trust me, we're good.
Funny you should mention Fantasy. I want to have a sing-along. You'd like to hear it? Here it go.
Me and Mariah go back like babies with pacifiers. Old dirt dog, no liar. Keep the fantasy hot like fire.
Yeah.
The wig was his idea.
The wig was his idea.
Yes.
First of all, rest in peace to ODB.
Yes.
He would have celebrated a birthday this week. Actually, his birthday is tomorrow, man. So really just thoughts and
Rest
prayers
in
to his
peace.
family and his
Yes,
legacy well
yes.
intact. And I remember running out to Macy's trying to get that Hilfiger rugby right when it dropped. It's funny that you mentioned Rye Playland because that's where you shot the video.
Shot the video there, yeah.
Mariah, one thing also that people may not know or may not give you credit for, you direct your videos. If you look at this just photo right there, look at Mariah behind the camera directing the
I hate that
fantasy video.
picture. But I did direct that video, and the best part of it was when ODB was there, and he was like, he wanted the wig. He made the stylist take him to the mall and get that wig, and he kind of caused a ruckus in the mall. It was just like, you couldn't write this stuff. Like, it was just like classic moments.
Right. Yeah. No, amazing. And one thing that I took notice of, again, the video direction, you talked about hearing the sample while, at in and around Rye Playland. As a video director, does that process start with the songwriting process? Like, when you're writing, are you already knowing, like, oh, I know what the video is going to be. I can see it in my head. Is it that seamless?
I think for some people, the videos are more important almost than the music. For me, it's always how the song makes me feel. I started directing videos by default because I wasn't allowed to work with the people that I wanted to work with. No offense to anybody that I did work with. It was like anybody that was pushing the limit with like sexuality or, you know, we're gonna push her in that direction. They weren't invited. They just weren't invited to the party. So I had to like step in and do my own homogenized version of what I really wanted to be doing, which I didn't actually start doing until Honey. Honey was my favorite. Thank you.
Amazing video. I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick.
Oh, Lord.
Look, don't be political. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it.
I
But I
will
mean,
try.
you work with everybody: Jay-Z, Nas, The Lox, Mace, The Brat, Missy Elliott, who is also nominated to Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Yes,
Please
yes.
give it up for Missy.
Yes, yes.
Who's been your favorite to work with? Shade.
You know what? You didn't mention Bone Thugs and Harmony,
Thugs and
and that was a moment too.
Yeah,
when
no,
when they
absolutely.
played, because earlier I was upstairs. I'm not gonna lie, I was changing the ensemble and things, and I heard Breakdown, and I was remembering. I'm not gonna tell the story because I want to save it for my book, but there is a very intense story about when I first sang Breakdown. And then, you know, we ended up merging it with Bone and what they were doing because obviously the song is totally inspired by what they were doing and
Right.
their cadence and stuff like that. So, thank you. So, I Still Believe Remix. Yes, I enjoyed that. Crazy Bone. I'm sorry I'm responding to the
No, it's
audience.
good. No,
so
this
it's
is
not
what
good
it's
for the edit.
This is what we're here for. No. Keep that in the edit, man.
Okay.
Shout out to the land.
See, I think, yes, shout out to the Lamely, as always. Once again, tonight we're celebrating Glitter's #1.
Yes. You also have this great job, and credit to the producers that you work with, but you know the samples. You know, when you talk about the Genius of Love sample, like you know what you're gonna sound good on. You know what you're gonna kill. I mean, when we're talking about Stacey Lattisaw attacking the name game
Yes.
or Heartbreaker.
I have to give DJ Clue credit for
Shout out
that
to
one.
Clue.
That came from Clue. And
Illuminati.
yes.
Stacey Lattisaw. Wait, that's
Yes,
that.
Attack of the Name Game.
World famous Supreme Team. Hey DJ for Honey. And then my personal favorite. I just want to hear my personal favorite, like you over another sample.
Apprehension blew away. I only wanted you to taste my sadness as you kiss me in the dark.
The Roof.
That is my favorite.
Is that your favorite?
Yeah. It is like I like from that album, I
Right.
would say that because okay, so I was driving home to when I lived upstate New York. Yeah. I'm not gonna say I'm writing my memoirs right now. I'm writing a book. So I'm trying not to give it all away.
Book schmuck. Give it, G. You can't tell Genius. Who can you tell?
But you know, I can tell you, but we'd be here all night, and I know everybody's got.
we also don't got nothing else to do.
But when I was driving upstate and I was listening to the radio and I was listening to Shook Ones and I was like, you know, and then I said I started singing the melody of the hook on top of the original Mobb Deep version, and so then I ended up in the studio with Tone and Polk of Trackmasters and told them I wanted to do that part, and then you know, such and such and such. Bridge and so and then
Shout
it
out to
is
Havoc
us.
and rest in peace to Prodigy.
Yes,
One of the
yes.
greatest hip hop groups of all time. But I do have a question about this particular lyric. First of all, when I hear Shook Ones, right, and again, I'm just from that era, I want to fight. Like it's just like hard. So,
well, it's got like a yes, I know what you're saying. There's like a foreboding thing about it. Like
Yeah.
it's dangerous. The beat itself is like a sorry, it's foreboding, darling.
we got a whole section about vocabulary. We gonna get there.
I'm not doing it to try and impress anybody. I
Nah, this how you
literally
speak,
have
is it?
like I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. But yes, it has a darkness about it.
So how do you get, just me, the way my mind works, and this is a credit to how your mind works, this is poetic, this lyric right here. My apprehension blew away. I only wanted to taste my sadness as you kissed me in the dark.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have heard Mobb Deep and thought of those lyrics, but you did, and it worked.
Well, thank you. You know what? I always wished that had been a bigger record because it was my favorite song. And it makes me sad because, I mean, it shouldn't make me sad because the fact that everybody in this room pretty much knows the song makes me very proud and happy because I loved making the record. I loved everything about the video, the whole thing. And working with Mobb Deep, they actually got on the remix. And so, but you're right, it doesn't feel like you're gonna write a love song on top of it, but the song is a true story. And that's all I'm gonna say. Thank you and good night.
I guess you got to get the book, y'all. We was gonna get it anyway.
You gotta get the book.
We was gonna get it anyway. Okay, I want to go outside of all the hits, all the number ones, all the award-winning records that we know and we hear on the radio and we stream millions and millions of times. There's these beautiful written deep cuts. A lot of times it's the last song on your album that, you know, the Lamb's like where we really learn about you, where we really become connected to Mariah Carey. One of my favorites is Outside. Can we hear just a little bit of Outside?
It's hard to explain. Inherently, it's just always been strange.
Wow. It was beautiful. That was beautiful.
It makes me so happy that people actually even know this song because this is like a... I've never done this in concert, even when the Butterfly album was new. Like, we never did it.
Right.
But it stands alone as its own thing. It's kind of like, it saved my life to writing. Thank you for saying that. Seriously.
And for me, I mean, my mom and dad are here. I'm biracial. So
nice to meet you. I'm biracial.
But growing up, sometimes it was hard figuring out. You know, I grew up fine, but there were some days when it was hard, where you just quite didn't fit in. You know, in one place or the other. And I remember you being one of the first celebrities that I saw openly talk about being biracial and embracing all the sides of you and everything that made you. And, you know, I felt connected to you in that way. And then obviously hearing this song. For you in writing this, where did the inspiration, what place were you in when you began writing this song?
Well, I think the whole Butterfly album was like a certain sense of freedom and then also like a lot of, yes, definitely faith, and a lot of introspective moments. And this was completely about being biracial. It's from top to bottom. That's what it was about. It was about not just being biracial, but being me and not feeling like everybody else, and needing somebody, and yet never having that person to connect to and say, oh, they're the same as me. Oh, wow, like I'm okay. Like I'm not some weird alien from another, and yet I am something. But it really was me being like, I don't even know what she said, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But yeah, so outside, I've met people that have tattoos that say outside, that have the lyrics written outside. So anytime people have connected with that song, it's someone that kind of doesn't feel like they fit in with what's considered the norm. And for me, it always had a lot to do with being biracial because, like I said, ambiguous without a sense of belonging to touch. That's how I felt. I felt like I didn't fit into the boxes that people cut out for us to be put into so they can feel more comfortable.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That's what
amazing.
I always felt like.
In writing something so personal, though, because different people connect to this in different ways, you know, anything that makes us different. And I think this is the beauty of the song, that is so personal, but so relatable, even if you're not biracial. You know, you may be, you know, gay, or, you know, you may be tall, you may be short, you may be, you know, whatever your different is.
A lot of people have told me, yes, it's helped them with when they were coming out. It's helped them, you know, feel like they could, you know what it is? I think everybody just needs somebody to kind of say, hey, like, I've been through that too, with whatever the situation is. Like, I've been through that. And then you could feel like, okay, it's not so far-fetched that I exist.
Did you intend for that to happen, or was it that you were just writing something so deeply personal and it just turned out that way?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Another song. Let's look. We're not gonna play it, but we're gonna show lyrics. I want to show lyrics to Looking In. You know, it's funny again because Looking In is the last song on Daydream, just like Outside was the last song on Butterfly. I feel like, again, as a fan, it's really a payoff when you get an album, more than just the singles, and listen to an album, and you really learn about your favorite artist. But these lyrics, I'm not going to sing it, but it seems as though I've always been somebody outside looking in. Well, here I am for all of them to bleed, but they can't take my heart from me, and they can't bring me to my knees. They will never know the real me.
Yeah.
Who is the real Mariah?
Well, I mean, the verse before that goes, she smiles through 1,000 tears and harbors adolescent fears. She dreams of all that she can never be. She wades in insecurity and hides herself inside of me. That, but I'm not saying that from a place of like, oh my gosh, look at my deep lyrics. I'm saying that.
But you did, and we're gonna get to that.
No. But the truth is, that song, I wrote that one in like 15 minutes when I was living upstate New York in having huge success. But I'm not gonna talk about this because I just don't want to hurt anybody's feelings anymore, darling. We've all been through enough. But the truth is like, that needed to be written. I had to write that as like a therapeutic moment for myself. And yet certain people got annoyed with me when I wrote that because I was being honest. It was like the most honest I had ever been in terms of like lyrically. So it just, the melody and the lyrics came out of me, and then of course we share credit with people because we do. And it is what it is. Sometimes they fully deserve it, but sometimes when it's such an expression of you, it's like, okay.
And you listen to the song, and where else could this come from?
Right. No one else is conjuring that up, but it really needed to be said from, in terms of my being able to exist. I had to breathe, and I wasn't able to do that in my life.
I feel you. Come on now.
Darling, I couldn't sing Mary Had a Little Lamb right now, okay? I'm lucky I'm still awake. I just had a shot of espresso, and here we are.
We're getting really emotional right now. I mean, we'll be remiss if we didn't go. Can we just hit one more emotional touch tone, please? Can I hear One Sweet Day, please? Just a little bit, just a little bit.
Oh, this is so nice. Thank you for having me here.
No,
seriously.
thank you for being here.
I really appreciate it.
I want to talk about this record in particular. Again, you hold so many records. You've written more #1 hits than any female songwriter. Actually, more than any songwriter. Look, the Beatles, right? Shout out to the Beatles. Max Martin has his fair share #1s. Mariah Carey, like, it's a very exclusive club that have written these #1 hits. You have the most consecutive years with the #1 hit. Like, you hold so many records. You and Boyz II Men hold the record for the longest running #1 song on the Hot 100 with One Sweet Day for 16 weeks. Ty, shout out to Luis Fonsi. Also, streaming, things are changing. Mm-hmm. But how much of that is in your mind when you're writing these records? Do you write One Sweet Day and in this session and like, oh, this is just gonna kill him? Watch.
It's so interesting the way that song came about. So I had written a little bit of the song, and I was like, I really want to work with Boyz II Men on this. I had the concept, and we reached out to them. And when we got together, we sat down, and Nate had been writing something because they had lost their road manager. And so it was the same concept and very similar melodically, to the point where there's a remix that's very obscure that I'm sure not everybody has heard, but there's a remix of it with a slightly different melody and lyric that was what Nate was working on, and we pretty much put them together and ended up shooting the video same day. I mean, they were so massive at the time. I was like, if we don't get this done on the same day, we're never gonna have a video for this song, so let's just do it. And we weren't like, oh, it's gonna be #1 for so and so many days. We had no idea, but I mean, we hoped it would be big.
How important are those records are to you? Holding on to 16 weeks, and again, we know that streaming has kind of changed the game, and it's slightly different. Do you really pay attention to that stuff, or does?
Well, I feel like One Sweet Day has its own moment, no matter whatever happens with streaming and everything else. It still did what it did, and continues to, be a song that people will tell me helped change their life or helped them cope with the death of a loved one or something like that. So, you know, I'm still going to be proud of that song no matter what happens with streaming and this and that.
I hear you. Speaking of the Hot 100, speaking of Billboard, we're gonna have to go here. There's one song that no matter what, every year will hit that chart. Halloween passes, Thanksgiving starts to approach, the weather gets a little colder if you're on the East Coast, and we're all playing this.
Don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing.
But the background set.
Don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I don't need to hang my stuff.
Again, we're giving all the flowers. Mariah, I think you've written the Christmas standard for an entire generation. Actually, 2-3 generations. Like, at a time when doing Christmas records wasn't even cool. Like, artists would run from it. Like, I'm not doing a Christmas. And Mariah, you made Christmas cool. Like, no.
I love you, but I can't take credit for that.
That Santa guy.
Christmas is the best. See, I actually believe that. Then people will ask me, how do you write a holiday song? I have 2 Christmas albums. Not everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And I love it. I genuinely love it. That's the thing. But I will say that it was, Tommy had come to me and said, you know, I think you should do a Christmas album. And I was like, really? Like at this moment in my career? So he was right. He was right. I'll never take that away from him. But I did have to sit back and go, what do I really want to write about Christmas? Like, what are the things that come to mind? And I got into it. And then I was like, I'm just going to write from the place of that kid that didn't grow up with any money, that always wanted to have the most festive Christmas, and somehow people I was related to would come in and ruin the holiday every year. Not all the people I was related to, just a select few.
The special ones.
All due respect to everybody, they're not festive, and it would ruin it. And I was like, you know what? I just want to do the most festive thing I can do. So when I grow up, I'm going to make this the best holiday ever. And you know, every year, it's just like, I'm like, look, do not ruin Christmas for me. I will never forgive you. So I put everything into having a festive holiday, and that's what I put into that song. And it amazes me that people like ended up singing it every year or remaking it or doing,
Tradition.
You know what I mean?
You start in July. Damn, bro. But even the style of song, I want to give a nod to you because even watching that video, we played the alternate,
60s one.
so, you know, kind of gives like a Ronettes vibe or something. Like
Yeah.
who were you into? Like, because you really took us back to a place, I feel like.
Well, when I made the record, I was trying to make a classic sounding record. I didn't want to make it sound like, because it was the 90s, but I wasn't like, okay, I want this to be like a real 90s record. I wanted it to be timeless. And so that was the goal, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's the only reason, that's one of the reasons why it transcends different things. Because a lot of people feel like they think it's a remake. People are like, you know, who's the original person that did that song? I'm like,
Mariah Carey. You heard. Is that flattering to you, or is it something?
I guess it should be flattering, right? You know, because that was my goal. I didn't want it to sound like something that was new, you know. So I'm yeah.
Amazing. We're gonna skip ahead a lot. I want to talk about the emancipation of Mimi. What an album. 10 million copies worldwide. We Belong Together topped the Hot 100 for 14 weeks straight. With all of your previous success, just thinking about this album as a whole, what were the things important to you, like going in, writing this album? Did you approach it differently than anything you had done? Like, where were you in your career and kind of your writing process?
Well, here's the thing. This came after the album Charm Bracelet, which not everybody knows. I mean, I know, I'm glad that some people know. I love Subtle Invitation. I love Alibi. Those songs. Yours was a fun one. Yes. And that came after Glitter.
Justice for Glitter, y'all.
Justice for Glitter. Today we celebrate it, but when it came out on September 11, 2001, of course, that was one of the worst days in history.
Right.
Of course. That said, it wasn't a time for a festive album or soundtrack or whatever. Nobody was really thinking about that. And so fast forward to the fact that it almost ruined my life. And I let it because I had put so much into the, forget the movie, but the soundtrack, I really, I think there's some really good songs on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I love Lead the Way, Never Too Far.
Yeah, sure.
But, and even Loverboy, for whatever it's worth, which would have been a different song, but then I'm not going to get into that story.
Hashtag Justice for Glitter.
Oh my gosh, there's so many stories.
So did you have Emancipation of Mimi? Was there a little edge that you had to you at that point? Is that what you're getting at?
What I'm getting at is I was coming out of, so Glitter was like, people looked at it like, oh, that's her downfall, that's it. So then I signed with Universal. Doug Morris and I had this incredible meeting, and he was like, I believe in you, such and such. And we did the Charm Bracelet album, but I think had they released different songs from that album, it would have done better. But, everybody was like, oh, let's have a sob story, let's release Through the Rain. I wrote it. I'm not hating on my own song, a little bit maybe, but I'm not. I don't mean to. And I do love Lullaby. But with that album, it was like there was something to prove. And then we didn't really prove it because it wasn't a big hit. And then, you know what? I still love that album. I really do. There's some songs that I really love. But then when I was working on The Emancipation of Mimi, it was much more like, let me just really, really go deep and just try my best. And not that I didn't try my best on Charm Bracelet, but it was like for the first time I worked with Pharrell. And everybody loved, they were like, Say Something needs to be the first single. And then when L.A. Reid came to the label, he was like, did you work with Jermaine yet? I'm like, you know what, we haven't gotten back together and worked together. And then we got together and, because we had written Always Be My Baby.
Of course.
That was, yeah.
Shout out to Jermaine.
Yeah, on the
You guys
Daydream
have a
album.
special chemistry.
We really do. I love JD. He's like one of my favorite people. Jermash. And then The Emancipation of Mimi became this record that I still love so much to this day.
Amazing.
And I also want to say rest in peace to Big Jim Wright, because we wrote Fly Like a Bird together, and through the ups and downs that we went through, he was a brilliant musician. And Circles, somebody said Circles before. Yeah. Joyride, that was Young Genius. That he was 15 years old. He did the beat for that, and we wrote.
15.
Yeah. Your Girl, yeah. Scram Jones, that was Kanye, yeah.
Yep.
But these were all different beats and things and music that we worked on, and then I had to bring myself to the table so that I become the through line on all of these records, because otherwise it's like disjointed stuff. Otherwise it's like you're working with a bunch of producers, and who's the artist? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's amazing. This next part, we alluded to it earlier, and again, I want to give you the credit for this. This next part of the interview, I named this part of the interview Mariah Cabulary.
That is a new one that I haven't heard yet.
If you love it, you can keep it. If you can hate it,
I'm keeping it if that's okay.
It's yours. It's yours.
Okay.
My gift to you. I just want to show, we're going to flash quickly some lyrics on the screen, or just some beautiful words that we never hear in song, and I want to give you credit for it. From My All on the Butterfly album. Emblazoned. Amazing. Let's go to Heartbreaker from Rainbow. Like, I'd never said the word incessantly in my life until singing this.
And I thought about it when I used it. I was like, you know what? Is that too much? Did I go too far there?
Nope. Another word. Let's go to Melt Away. Rhapsodize. Then you do it again on Did I Do That? Rhapsodize again.
I know, I used it twice. These are the moments that I dread when I'm writing, and I'm like, wait a minute, but I use that, and I'm gonna be like on an obscure song, and I'm like, but some of the fans are gonna notice,
And then finally, your 2014 album, Me, I'm Mariah. The elusive chanteuse.
What was it? I'm trying not to look too far that way because my lighting director's gonna be like, darling, it's not a good angle.
No, just the album title. I didn't know what chanteuse
Oh,
was.
chanteuse, the elusive chanteuse.
I had to
yes.
look it up when the album came out, and then I kind of had to look it up again before the interview just to make sure I was right. I think it's amazing. I think, you know, I've spoken to fans who English wasn't their first language and have said, shout out to Nat, who helped me prep and research for this interview, had told me a story is that English wasn't her first language, and listening to music, and particularly Mariah Carey records, helped her, you know, like, learn English. And we just don't hear these words, and there's so many words to choose from, and we hear the same words in the same songs over and over again. And I think just the way your creativity of just coming up with these words that we never hear, where does that come from? Like, do you challenge yourself to do that, or does it just come out naturally?
Honestly, sometimes it's the first thing I think of, and then I have to dial it down and be like I said, like incessantly, like with Heartbreaker. I mean, it's such a poppy, like cute song, and then you're like, but incessantly, do they really know what that means? And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna use it because if you don't know, then now you know. and I don't even know like where it comes from sometimes, but it's just, I think when I was growing up, my mom and dad they would use words that I didn't know what they meant, and then I have to just learn them. And I mean, I am not a scholar by any shape of the stretch of the imagination, but I happen to like somehow throw these words in songs every now and then. Like somebody said to me about trepidation in With You, and it just came to me. It's not like I'm like, let me look up a word. Occasionally I'll look things up so I don't repeat myself over and over again. But it's funny because, okay, Rock and Roll are 7 years old, my babies, them kids. And I bring them on stage sometimes, and then I'm like, well, can you learn the words to this song? Because I'll be doing like Always Be My Baby. Because even on that, I'm part of you indefinitely, they don't know how to say that. And then they say to me, because they like have their own favorite songs and stuff, and they'll say to me, your songs are too many words, they're hard to sing. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to learn it.
Kids these days.
I mean, really, how dare they?
Listen, they're gonna love it when they start entering the spelling bees and all.
They're gonna love it when it's their catalog.
Facts. All right, guys. Caution out November 16th, Friday. Can we get into the new album, please?
Yes.
How about you get the fuck out? Get the fuck out. How about you?
Hey.
Yay.
Do the kids know the words to this one?
Oh, well, unfortunately, they figured it out, but what they have turned it into is get a fun cow.
I need a fun cow. I never realized I needed a fun cow.
You gotta get
one.
one.
Yeah.
You gotta get one.
For Christmas, all I want is a fun cow.
See, I don't like to merge those two songs. Honestly, I was like, you know what? This is just, I wrote it with Bibi Borelli, and I love her. I love her.
She's amazing.
We were in the studio together, and it was just a vibe. 1985 to the beat. And
Yeah, shout out to 1985.
yeah, so we were in the studio, and it was just like the vibe of the record. It was like, you know, it's not that serious.
Right.
Like sometimes it's just about a fun moment, and you know what I mean. So it became my anthem for a time. I was like, you know, it was so stressful. I was like, this is my song. I'm putting it out. I don't care.
So the F-bomb right on the first single. Let's go, take that.
But it
Caution.
wasn't even like a real, like, it wasn't even like it's like the single. It was like just a fire starter. And I was happy that people liked it because I was like, you know what, this isn't, I'm not saying this is my world's greatest song, but you know what, sometimes you need to just say like, how about you get the fuck out?
Right. It's definitely a mood. How did you approach writing this album, going into Caution? What were the things that were important to you as a songwriter?
Really, it was just getting back in the studio is like such a safe place for me, and the right environment. Like I had been outside of that environment for too long and doing too many superfluous things that I really didn't need to be doing, and then I was just so happy to be back in the studio, and I really wanted to collaborate because, you know, occasionally or sometimes like the thing is like, let me sit alone and really rack my brain and write these lyrics because I need to express that as a full vision. But then one of my favorite things to do is collaborate and go back and forth. Like sit here with you and be like, how about this, how about that? Like really have a dialogue about it and then come up with an end result. And so I did a lot of that on this record.
No, that's dope. With You, I was listening to With You. And, we talked about breakdown. I love this line. I just want to hear this line on With You. I think it's just an incredible lyric. Can we listen to just a little bit of With You?
Yes, please. You say, yo, I've been loving you so long. Ever since that one song, you ain't gotta break down, you're too strong.
First of all, it's amazing. We talked about breakdown a little bit earlier. And the reason why I didn't ask that because I had a breakdown question.
Okay.
Here, I love that it's self-referential. Over like you have such a catalog that you can start referring on to yourself. But first of all,
Thank you.
was this a real pickup line? Did somebody tell you this? I want to know. I need the tea.
People say stuff like that. We made that up. Okay, so I was in the studio working with my friend Prince Charles, who I love. We wrote 2 songs together, actually 3. One of them we didn't use. This song called Angels Cry didn't make the album, but and I have never talked about that until this moment. And maybe one day I'll record it. But anyway, I was like, let's reference that because it just made sense. Then to use breakdown in the next line was kind of like, I have never done that, but I don't know if I've done it before, if I've referenced another song. I don't think so.
Yeah, it felt like it was the first.
Oh, you'll always be a part of me no matter what you do. And for the record, can't nobody say I didn't give my all to you. Yes. I told you underneath the stars that you belong to me. It's obvious that we just can't let go of us, honey.
I told you
NTT.
They some detectives. But it felt good to you, like just this moment that you could just harp back on something that was so special to you.
It really
and
did.
We get it.
Well, only I knew that that the fans would get it, that people who knew, I knew that I'd have to point it out to other people, like perhaps sitting in an interview or something, but I knew that people who really knew the songs, and that's what really matters to me the most, would get it and would like it for that reason.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's dope. Amazing song. Who used that pickup line again, though? I feel like
Can't tell ya.
This song isn't out yet. I got to hear a little bit of the album. We're not playing anything. No, November 16th.
I want to save some of the excitement because we did all these instant grads.
Yeah.
And I just hope that was a smart thing to do. Okay,
But
good.
I just want to talk about one that 8th grade
Okay,
is a dope song. When I saw it on the track listing, I'm like, what is this about?
right.
8th grade. And you have this lyric. You sing, something is telling me you're ready. Am I wrong? Maybe the lyrics are too heavy in my song.
Yeah. How would you feel if you had me? Then I was gone. Yeah. Well, 8th grade was a very tumultuous year for me, darling. I dyed my hair orange the year before, and I was trying to grow it out, but with the texture, it just takes a while. It just wasn't good. But that feeling of insecurity and being like, melancholy about things, that was why I just made a rough title of 8th grade. It was called 8th Grade Rough, and then we just took the rough away. I was like, should we keep 8th grade rough or just call it 8th grade? So it's 8th grade because at that moment in time, there's a certain feeling that you just can't manufacture. That is like when you're growing up and it feels like the world's gonna come to an end if the person that you have feelings for doesn't feel the same way. And that's what that song is about.
No, that's awesome and amazing. And maybe the lyrics are too heavy in my song. I just thought it was such a fitting line for today. Do you sometimes feel like that, like as a writer, like, oh man, this is just gonna go over their heads? I guess we kind of talked about it a little bit with the With You line breakdown reference, but do you feel like, oh, they're not gonna get this?
It's not that I ever feel like people aren't gonna get this. They might not get what it means to me specifically. You know what I mean? But it's not about that, because if it affects somebody else and they can apply it to their life, then that's the most important thing.
Okay. Yeah, give it up. And we talked about hip hop and your love for hip hop, and I mean, you are a part of hip hop. Like Mariah Carey is just as much part of hip hop as anybody else.
Did the best I could.
No, you sampled Lil Kim's "Crush on You."
Crush on You, yes.
I feel like I got to visit you in LA, and you played a little bit of the album previous to this interview, and you had given a story of this was a beat that you always wanted to use. This was a song that you always wanted to do, like forever, right?
Yes, it was always one of my favorite records, and I still think it's one of the best records that we could
y'all know
ever
the original,
use.
right? Yeah.
Yes. So, when we wrote the song, the a no on top of it, for me, that beat is just like, you can't deny it. It's a feel good record. You know what I mean? It's one of those ones that is timeless. But we did our little thing on top of it, and I'm glad everybody's liking it.
Yeah. Now you did big things on top of it. And we talked about your sample in your ear for sampling. Earlier this year, you were sampled by this artist. Maybe you guys heard of him.
Maybe somebody's heard of
This
him,
guy
yeah.
named Drake. Sample, also a kind of an obscure, I got to step up my
Version of it.
vocabulary, obscure version of Emotions for his song Emotionless. I'm assuming you had to clear the sample.
Yes, I did.
When you first heard it, though, what did you think when you heard the Drake version of Emotionless using your sample under? What struck you?
Well, I heard it over the phone at first, and I was like, oh, I'm sure they're gonna speed it up because of the Lauren, Nice for What.
That he used.
I was like, oh, it's probably gonna end up, this is probably just a little snippet of what they're gonna do. But no, they ended up using pretty much all of it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm so glad they liked it.
That's dope. To me, too, one of the Scorpion had so many tracks on it. Really one of the standout tracks. I think everybody was like surprised and shocked. It was like, oh, it's a Mariah sample. This is so cool.
I was very flattered by it. I was very happy that they chose to do it.
I feel like you got to get them back now. If you had to sample a Drake song, what would Mariah go over out of Drake's catalog?
What's the diss record that
The new one, back to back, back to back.
Yes,
Okay,
I would
back to
use
back.
back to back. That was
Yep.
one of.
Okay, so this reminds me of Mobb Deep in the Roof. Again, back to back is kind of a
And now
vicious, that's a
somebody's gonna
hard
use
record.
that, so
No,
now
listen.
it's foiled.
No, hold on.
Now it's foiled.
Where's the
But
camera? There's my
honestly-
camera. If you sample back to back and try to sing over it,
We know where you
flawed.
got the idea from.
No, we're not accepting it. We're sending it back. When Mariah's ready, she might do it. Just sit back and wait and control yourself. Back to you.
But thank you. But I love that record. I do love that record. I'm a huge fan of Drake's, and I was very flattered, and I was honored that they used the sample.
I just want to listen to your hip hop playlist because I'm thinking about the Roof for Super Hard Record. You talk about back to back.
I love back to back.
Amazing. Nah, it's a great record. Finally, I want to stop. I could sit up here forever with you, but I want to kind of wind down a little bit. And when you look at your career thus far, is there a song that you're most proud to have written? You can't answer it for her. She got to answer the question.
You reference so many of my favorite songs that are like personal. The only song you didn't bring up that I love, Underneath the Stars. Somebody said it's Close My Eyes, is really one of my, it's such a real, what do you call it? It's a representation of like 4 years, because I started writing it and then I stopped writing it and I picked it up again. And it's a lot of truths that I was telling during that song. And it's not like, oh wow, what a great vocal performance or anything like that. And it's kind of an obscure sounding record, but it's very much like a snapshot of me.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the most proud, or one of the ones that you're most proud?
I don't know if that, I mean.
It makes you proud.
I'm proud of it as a songwriter, yes. I'm proud of the fact that people have told me it's helped them get through like really serious abusive situations and stuff like that, people all across the world. But it's not like my most famous or well-known song, you know what I mean? But it still matters to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about your best? If you had to judge it on the best song you ever written, are they one and the same? Is it a little bit different? Is it hard? You really want?
I don't know. You know what? It's like, how do you measure that really? Because songs, they span different periods of time, and it's like, I like things that can stand the test of time, where you'll be listening to it years from now and it won't sound dated. You know what I mean? And so I would leave that up to the fans to decide what the favorite song. You know what I mean? Probably one of the piano vocal ballads.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay, amazing. Everything. They're all amazing. Stream them all, and then caution when it comes out on Friday.
Yes, and on Caution, I'm curious to see how fans are going to react to Portrait. That's one
Yeah.
that I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah.
Hard to
Finally,
say.
finally, lastly, I want to ask you, because I think you're such a great example for songwriters and creatives in general, and particularly young women as well. And you know, I think you have been through a lot. I think you kicked down a lot of doors, blazed a lot of trails. If you had to give any advice to young female songwriters, what would it be? I would love for somebody to be able to get something out of this that can maybe help them in their young career.
I would say the most important thing is don't let anyone dissuade you or say, like, you know, let somebody else write songs for you. You're a great singer. You don't need to, you know, write your songs. Because people do that to a lot of young singers so they can be in control of what they do and make the money as, you know, placing songs for their friends or themselves, to take their publishing. Just hold on to your publishing and make sure if you want to write that you take that opportunity to express yourself and write your songs, because you only get one chance to do that.
That's amazing. I swear, I think if that can help just one person right there,
Yeah.
I feel like our job and what we did here tonight is done. We're good.
Yes.
Mariah, I want to thank you for coming to Genius.
Thank you so much. This is an incredible interview. Thank you guys so much
it up
for the
for
support.
yourselves.
Seriously. This was one of the best events I've ever experienced.
Amazing.
So thank
Give
you
it up,
so
Mariah
much.
Carey, everybody.
I ain't even mad, no, not like before. Off with your head now, still there at the door. Snakes in the grass, it's like a